I dropped by just to say hello. But she said, "Why don't you stay a little longer?" The rain was coming down hard that evening, drumming softly on the roof of my old pickup as I parked in front of her little blue house, the same one with the chipped mailbox and the wildflowers she used to plant every spring. It had been 5 years since I'd last stood there. 5 long, complicated years since I'd said goodbye to the woman who raised me when my own mother couldn't, who taught me how to tie my shoes, patch a wound, and never leave a door unopened when someone needed help. Mrs. Langley wasn't family by blood, but she had been the only person who ever treated me like I mattered. And that night, something deep inside told me I needed to see her. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was love. Or maybe, just maybe, it was fate whispering that time was running out. If you believe that simple acts of kindness can change lives, if you believe in second chances and the quiet beauty of human connection, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Tales. Your support helps us keep sharing stories that remind the world what truly matters. The porch light flickered as I stepped closer. The garden was overgrown, but somehow still carried traces of her touch, roses tangled with daisies, as if clinging to one another for company. I hesitated before knocking. What if she didn't remember me? What if she'd forgotten? My heart raced, unsure if I even deserved to see her after all the years I'd stayed away. But when the door creaked open, there she was, older, frielier, her once golden hair now a crown of silver. Her eyes, though dimmer, still held that familiar warmth that could melt the coldest of hearts. And before I could even say a word, she smiled faintly and whispered, "Why don't you stay a little longer?" I didn't know what came over me. Maybe it was the way her voice trembled or how her hand reached out just slightly, as though afraid I'd vanish if she touched me, but I stepped inside. The house smelled the same, cinnamon, old books, and the faint trace of lavender she used to dry by the windows. Every photo on the wall was a memory, my graduation picture, the birthday cake she baked when I turned 12, her late husband in uniform smiling with his arm around her. She hadn't taken anything down, not even the cracked frame of the day I left for college, full of promises I never kept. She led me to the old couch, her movements slow but graceful, and I noticed the oxygen tank beside her chair. It felt like a punch to the chest, a reminder that time doesn't wait for anyone. We talked, at first, about small things. The weather. The neighborhood. How the Jenkins boy down the road had joined the army. But then silence filled the room, and in that silence, years of unspoken apologies hung heavy in the air. She looked at me the way a mother looks at her child when she knows he's been lost for too long. She told me she'd waited, that she used to glance out the window every Sunday, thinking maybe that would be the day I'd drop by. Life has a way of pulling people apart, she said softly, her eyes glistening. But love always finds a way back home. Those words broke something inside me. I realized then that I hadn't just come to say hello. I'd come to make peace with my past, with the version of myself that was too proud, too busy, too blind to see what truly mattered. The night stretched on as rain tapped against the windows. I helped her to the kitchen, made her tea just the way she liked, 1 spoon of sugar, a drop of milk. She chuckled when I got it wrong the first time, teasing me like she used to when I was young. There was laughter again. There was warmth. For a few hours, it was as if time had never moved at all. But when I caught her staring out the window, her hand trembling around her cup, I knew she was hiding something. She confessed she'd been sick, that the doctors had done what they could, but her heart was weakening. "I didn't want you to worry," she said, "and I didn't want you to see me like this." I swallowed hard, fighting back the ache rising in my throat. All those years I'd stayed away, thinking I was too busy building a life, and she'd been fighting battles alone. I wanted to be angry, at her for not telling me, at myself for not asking. But all I could do was take her hand, cold and delicate, and promise that I wouldn't leave again. Over the next few weeks, I kept that promise. I fixed her garden, mowed her lawn, read her favorite books out loud every evening. She'd sit by the window, smiling as the sun set, sometimes dozing off mid-sentence. She said the sound of my voice made her feel at peace. And in those quiet moments, I began to understand something profound. Love isn't always about grand gestures or perfect timing. Sometimes it's just about showing up when it matters most. Winter came fast that year. The days grew shorter, and her strength began to fade. But she never complained. She'd hold my hand and whisper stories from her youth, how she met her husband at a dance, how they'd built this house together with nothing but determination and faith. One evening, she asked me to fetch a box from her attic. Inside were letters, dozens of them, all addressed to me. Each one dated from the years I'd been gone. She had written them but never sent them, afraid they'd only burden me. I sat there, reading them one by one, tears spilling freely as I realized how deeply she had loved me even in my absence. One night, as snow fell quietly outside, she asked me to sit beside her. She was weak, her breathing shallow, but her eyes shone brighter than ever. "You stayed," she whispered. "That's all I ever wanted." I didn't know what to say. I just nodded, holding her hand tightly as she closed her eyes, the faintest smile resting on her lips. She drifted to sleep peacefully, and though I prayed she'd wake again, part of me knew, she already had everything she needed. The next morning, the house was quiet. Sunlight streamed through the curtains, casting golden patterns on the floor. I found a note beside her chair, her handwriting shaky but steady enough to read. It said, "Thank you for coming home, my boy. Love doesn't end, it simply waits until we find our way back." I buried her in the little cemetery by the hill, beneath the oak tree where she used to sit and tell me stories as a child. I planted new flowers there, her favorite lavender and white daisies. And every week, I visit. I bring tea. I sit for hours, talking about my life, my mistakes, my hopes. Because somewhere deep down, I know she's still listening. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of someone you've lost, or someone you still have time to reach out to, please like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Tales. Stories like this live on because of people like you who believe in love, forgiveness, and the power of coming home. Before you go, leave a comment below. Sparkles, have you ever reconnected with someone after years apart, and realized they've been waiting for you all along?